Hello.
Hello.
Hello there.
We are in the beautiful cherry orchards here today to talk to you about cherries.
Woo!
Yeah, let's see some of these beautiful cherries. Awesome. So, what do we want to know about cherries? Number one, cherries are number one. When they come into our produce departments, they are the number one focus. They're the heavy hitter. They basically take center stage. And so we wanted to share a little bit while we are in California cherry season. So first let's talk about seasonality. Actually, let's do a quick introduction. You know me, Taryn, Regional Produce Coordinator. I'll let you lovelies introduce yourselves.
Bianca, Fruit World Company, former Whole Foods team member.
And Margie Vega, M&R in Lodi, California.
Thank you both for being with me today. Really appreciate it. So when we think about cherry season, we think, oh, it's summer. All right. Well, what's the California season? Bianca, will you tell us a little bit more?
I would love to. So California starts off the cherry season in North America. So we start in late April, early May, depending on the year. This is 2020. This year we started in late April. Last year, 2019, we started in early May. And the season goes a short 6 weeks here in California.
Well, you know that we have cherries prominently in our departments for a bit longer than that in the summer, generally through August if we're lucky. And the rest of the season after California ends, which happens towards the end of June, again, it might depend each year, is going to be coming from the Pacific Northwest, with a lot of that coming from Washington. We'll get some product from Oregon and sometimes some product from Canada. But really, the Pacific Northwest is the larger producer when it comes to cherries. You also may be thinking, but I've seen them around in the winter.
Yeah.
And you're not wrong at all. I will say, being well over 20 years in produce, we didn't used to get cherries in the winter, but that happened, I'd say maybe 10 or more years ago, we'd start to see them in our grocery stores. But even more excitingly, about 5 or so years ago, we started to get some organic product in the winter. And Margie, would you tell us a little bit about this winter product and where it's coming from?
Yes, absolutely. Cherries that we receive here in the wintertime in the States ideally come from Chile, Argentina, the Netherlands, and also, fun fact, sometimes Turkey.
There is so much potential in this. Clearly, we don't know what's going to happen in the future, but it remains to be seen because the extension of seasons is happening all the time for all kinds of different commodities.
Though cherries are an interesting one, it's a little bit tougher because they have to be flown over from other countries.
Versus what?
Versus put on a truck or put on a boat. Or put on a boat and then a truck. The cherries are so fragile that they really have to be from harvest to end consumer. It's like a couple days.
So we all know how fragile they are in terms of what we do at Whole Foods Market. And this is a good reminder how important it is for us to be diligent on stacking standards, on cold chain. There is so much work that goes into growing cherries, packing cherries, shipping cherries, and we are the gatekeepers, and it's up to us to make sure that there's only really wonderful product. Now, this is a great segue to talk a little bit about packing. And I'm going to just define the term pack out and then ask Margie to talk a little bit about it. When we talk about pack out, it's the percent that makes it into a pack that came from the field. And you might think, well, doesn't everything make it into a pack? But I'll tell you, actually, I'll let Margie tell you a little bit more about that.
Yes, of course. Well, obviously, as a packer, the goal is to sell the most product and make the most yield out of any grower's cherries. And if you have a higher pack out, that means the higher percentage of cherries that are getting into the box and therefore going into the bags for our wonderful consumers.
There are some years, though, where it's very rough and it's pretty risky in California. Last year was a really tough year, rains late in the season, and this is not uncommon. I was at a packer and they were able to pack literally less than 20% of what got brought to the shipper from the field and some growers were just leaving fruit on the tree, and it breaks my heart.
Yes.
And I will say so much respect to everyone on the cherry team.
Absolutely.
Making it happen. Let's never take it for granted. One more thing I just want to ask about. I want to talk about varieties. You may or may not realize that there are a lot of different varieties of cherries, and they're not labeled on the box. But there are earlier varieties and later ones. And Bianca, will you tell us just a little bit?
Sure. There, like Taryn said, there's so many varieties throughout the California season. I think Margie said like 15 plus, that we don't put them on the bag because it's such a short season. It's really hard to be able to convey all that information to the consumer. But some of the popular varieties, the more widely grown varieties in California, are corals, brooks, bings. I'd say those are the most grown varieties in California.
And the reason that there are many is because some are going to take more chill time, some will handle warmer weather. And so again, to extend the season, get the most cherries into our mouths, and for growers to grow and sell, they're going to constantly be looking for different varieties that will fit the climate and the changes in climate. One more thing, we're just talking about red cherries. We're not even talking about Rainiers here.
That's right.
So many cherry adventures to be had.
Yes, absolutely.
Thank you so much for being with
yeah,
me
no
today.
problem.
All right,
No problem.
enjoy the cherries while they're here.
Thanks, you guys.
Bye.